Good morning, folks. The world woke up today to news that the United States and Iran have reached a permanent peace deal. This thing is full of holes, and I would suggest that let's not get too excited about this. You can trust the United States as being a good actor in this, but Iran has proven they're not a good actor. This war, which is about 90 days old, including the so-called ceasefire periods when both parties actually fired weapons and destroyed things and killed people, is now over, according to President Trump and Qatari negotiators and Iran. Except the problem with this, ladies and gentlemen, is that most of the big issues remain on the table. The Iranians are not getting what they wanted, a total withdrawal of U.S. troops from the Middle Eastern countries. That's not going to happen. The Americans will not get what they want initially, which is the enriched uranium and the end of a nuclear program in Iran. So what does this mean? Well, first off, it doesn't go into effect until this coming Friday. That's nearly a week from today, Monday. And then it's a ceasefire for 60 days. So if it's a permanent peace, how do you have a 60-day ceasefire? Don't you have a into perpetuity ceasefire? They are going to negotiate about the nuclear issues and other things during that time period. Now let's roll back the clock to the ceasefire, which the Iranians agreed to, and they broke immediately. In fact, they rushed to scupper the whole deal before the ceasefire went into effect initially, attacking Israel. Remember that? Moments before the ceasefire went into effect, they were launching missiles at Israel, and those missiles landing after the ceasefire took effect. And then repeatedly throughout this, they've broken the ceasefire. The United States, in self-defense measures, has struck back against the Iranians on more than one occasion as well. The Iranians have boastfully claimed they've shut down the Strait of Hormuz, but that's actually not the case. What they've done is they've committed crimes against humanity, and they've interfered with international shipping unjustly for non-combatants. This is a problem. But what we do get out of this is a promise the United States will end its blockade of Iran, and that's important for Iran. Iran is on its knees. This is what the Trump administration should have done from day one. I said this from the outset. This is a strange campaign. Why do we not go into Kharg Island and capture it the first night before the first bombs ever hit the ground, before the first missiles ever struck their targets? This was foolhardy. Allowing Iran to continue to sell 2 million barrels of oil per day and then mine the Straits of Hormuz and interfere with international shipping was a colossal mistake. Apparently, the Department of Defense, or Department of War as we're now called, was more focused on sinking Iranian ships at sea, and they were very successful at that, including the first U.S. sinking of a ship in hostile fire via submarine since the Second World War. But this campaign was marked by some strange decisions, and that's the biggest decision. Had the Iranians lost control of Kharg Island and its revenue from the outset, this would have ended far sooner. Now, as far as whether this matters or there'll be permanent peace, do not hold your breath. This is Iran. This is a country governed over by a tyrannical, religious, fanatical group of terror sponsors that cannot be trusted for a microsecond. There's nothing they say that you can trust. There's nothing that they do that's believable, except the actions they take in harming others. So let's not get too excited about a big peace deal in Iran, because I'm not going to hold my breath in this one. Now, here's the trap that potentially President Trump is falling into. 60 days. All right, it's June, middle of July, middle of August. Then it ends. What happens in the middle of August if Iran has not cooperated? Do we relaunch the war? Now it's mid-August, mid-September, mid-October, and then the first week of November. A little over 2 months later, the elections take place. This has domestic repercussions. However, good news for those suffering from higher energy prices. Brent crude dropped 5% this morning and is still continuing to go down. The price of oil is tumbling. In South Africa, the Johannesburg Stock Exchange has soared, and Sasol, the energy company, has seen its stock price decline because it won't make as much money from the coal to oil conversion. So there are some bright spots, but we're getting a little too excited. President Trump initially said this would be signed on his birthday, the 14th of June. It wasn't signed on the 14th, no doubt. That's the intransigence of Iranians. And it will be signed on Friday in Geneva, which is when it'll go into effect. So this might be the most watched peace negotiations since the Paris Peace Accords to end the war in Vietnam in 1973. We shall see. But don't get too excited. Enjoy the cheaper gasoline and petrol prices for the short term. Let's hope it has a lasting effect. From Georgia, this is Chris. Cheers.